for such a requirement. E.g., if Europe doesn't remunerate, then what? If the U.S. successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return. I guess that's Stephen Miller who's saying that. Pete Hegseth, agree. Dude, once again, I find it so strange when this administration, due to its sheer incompetence or lack of interest in sheltering you from the truth because they have a you gonna do about it attitude about it all, have revealed America's intentions that leftists like myself talk about all the time, and then everybody yells at me and says I'm a conspiracy theorist. It's hilarious that this has happened virtually every week since the beginning of this admin, where Trump will just come out and straight up be like, Saudi oil, we got to protect it. That's why while we strike Yemen, we got to extract some funds, right? Or even in text messages like this, they're just so incompetent. Now, like I said, I don't know if this is truly an accident, but here are some more chat logs. News, Atlantic editor Jeffrey Goldberg reports that senior Trump administration officials mistakenly added into a single signal group chat where they deliberated on strikes against the Houthis in Yemen. National Security Council spokesperson Brian Hughes says the text chain appears to be authentic. The group discussed planning for the bombings, current intelligence assessments, and debated whether to launch the military action. The chat, called Houthi PC Small Group, and was started by Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor, and included 18 members of the Principals Committee, the Vice President, the Secretary of Defense, National Security Advisor, Secretary of State, Stephen Witkoff, the GOAT, Director of National Intelligence, CIA Director, and Trump's Chief of Staff. The debate over the bombings includes VP Vance arguing against striking, saying only 3% of trade passes through the Red Sea. Ratcliffe, the CIA director, weighing in story. Hegseth arguing that waiting a month wouldn't change anything. Goldberg says he didn't realize the chat was real until the bombings began on March 15th. Mike Waltz celebrated in the chat with multiple emojis. They also said, excellent, good start. Mike Waltz, fist, American flag, fire emoji. Good job, Pete and your team. The team in MAL did a great job as well. Great work, all. Powerful start. What's the argument for doing this on purpose? I get not trusting this journalist, but this text chain seems like almost exclusively a bad look for them. Occam's razor here seems pretty clearly to be their morons. I mean, because the text, you want to know why? Because the text messages kind of reveal that they are very professional and cordial with one another, and that there's like internal back and forth on this. You know what I mean? Like they were having like serious conversations when we know that these are not so serious people. And also, there's no such thing as a bad look for this administration. You can only shame someone who has the capability of being shamed. If a person does not have the capability of shame, then you can't shame them. It's kind of like the Pete Hegseth phenomena, right? Back in the day, the Department of National Intelligence operators would actively go, and they still do this, would actively go to the friends and family members, neighbors of people that are getting security clearances. The reason for why they would do this and do like a massive assessment, there's an entire agency dedicated to making sure that the people that are being elevated, the people that have top security clearance status, are actually not open to compromise, open to blackmail, open to be extorted. They would look through your finances. If you have a lot of gambling debt, for example, that creates an opportunity for a foreign actor to exploit that. You have financial issues, then someone can, you're more malleable. Someone can come in and say, oh, we're going to clear your gambling debt if you slide us some USBs with some top secret intelligence, right? That obviously doesn't matter. Look at Brett Kavanaugh. He is a Supreme Court of the United States justice now. But beyond that, they would look at whether or not you were a drunk, whether or not you had, done rapes, for example. The reason why I'm bringing up those two factors here is because Pete Hegseth has done both. He is both an alcoholic and he has done rapes. But there is no reason to fear that Pete Hegseth could ever be blackmailed because everybody knows that. And the administration says, what the fuck are you going to do about it? So it's no longer a weakness if your crimes are in full display. and you are unblackmailable. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I mean? You can't blackmail someone who's shameless. That's how it is.
This just in, editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, says he was accidentally texted war plans.
Yeah, we literally just received this piece from The Atlantic, and in it, Goldberg writes, U.S. national security leaders included me in a group chat about upcoming military strikes in Yemen. I didn't think it could be real. Then the bombs started falling. CNN's Alex Marquardt joins us now live. And Alex, this piece came out literally in the last few minutes. I haven't been able to read through all of it, but this seems like something out of a farce, like out of a comedy.
It is. This is Burn Notice. We are simultaneously Idiocracy, but also Burn Notice at the same time. The Burn Notice was a documentary to begin with, though, so...
In this chat that Goldberg was a witness to, they talk about the planning for the recent bombing of the Houthis that started on March 15th. They talk about current intelligence assessments. There's a full-on debate among these officials about whether they should carry out this bombing of the Houthis. And these are conversations that could be in violation of the Espionage Act. Now, this group was started, it looks like, by the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who called it the Houthi PC Small Group. PC refers to Principals Committee. The principals in the administration are the senior-most officials.
Well, we'll know it's real if they find a reason to arrest Goldberg. They're never... Are you kidding me? That would be crazy. First of all, you think the guy who is in charge of the Atlantic, who is a former Israeli occupying force concentration camp guard, who literally works at the behest of the State Department, is going to get arrested for this? What are you, crazy? I mean, I'm sure that they'll go after members of the press. They certainly will. But I don't think they're going to start with the Atlantic.
Secretary, I'm reading the piece as we speak, and it's interesting because Goldberg writes that he had very strong doubts that this text group was real. I could not believe that the national security leadership of the United States would communicate on signal about imminent war plans. I also could not believe that the national security advisor to the president would be so reckless, he writes, as to include the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic in such discussions with senior U.S. officials. Secretary, what's your reaction to this reporting?
Well, it's obviously a very serious mistake on the part of whoever included Goldberg in this highly classified chain of command messaging that went on that involved war plans. To have had somebody from The Atlantic on that chain, without question, was a serious mistake. And I hope the White House takes this seriously, because the last thing you want to do when you're talking about war...
I hope they don't, because honestly, I love the incompetence. I hope they don't take it seriously, and I hope that they keep doing this. I hope that they keep accidentally adding journalists, and real journalists, not Goldberg, who is a fake journalist, but simply a stenographer for the State Department. But instead they have like real journalists on there, you know? That'd be sick. Of course, that'll never happen, because I don't think that any real journalist is going to have their phone number saved in the phone of Mike Waltz. Worth under Discord in disarray after being outflanked by a drunk. Yeah. I have a suspicion that they meant to include Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy Homeland Security Advisor Joshua Geltzer. Makes you wonder whether or not that it was done intentionally, because that level of incompetence is incomprehensible. It's a very weird situation because the administration is that fucking stupid. I mean, dude, Pete Hegseth is a Fox News contributor. He's a weekend host, and now he is in charge of the DOD. Like it's weird because on the one hand, I'm like, whoa, was this a clever way to just like to do a show of force? Because everything that you got from the leak itself is not all that surprising. It's stuff that you imagine them saying in public. I look at it and I think to myself, like, when a leak like this happens, like, who's doing the leaking is important. Is it a contentious adversarial reporter? Or is it someone who has always played the role of going along with the American State Department's interests? And also, what information, more importantly than that, what information did we get out of this leak? And the information that we got out of this leak is just like, you know, JD Vance being like, yeah, f*** Europe, which is, you know, maybe we shouldn't actually do this. They're debating being an isolationist, right? While also talking about how much they despise that Europeans are freeloaders of